Hello again, all you beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the 529 Initiative. My name is Michael Washington, and as always, it is my pleasure to host you this time around as we are about to dive into another dialogue of some craziness that's going on in our world, folks. Before we get started with that, though, I just want to say thank you to each of you that have helped me out by liking, subscribing, and sharing these videos with people, helping to get the word out on social media. We have seen an uptick. Because of that, I've seen an uptick on my Twitter account. I've seen an uptick in comments and different things like that. And so I just want you to know that I'm truly thankful for your support, truly thankful for your help. It means a lot. And we are going to continue to put this stuff out there to try and get more people to see the craziness that we're dealing with in our society, because there's so much of that that's going on right now. We have so much of that craziness that's going on. And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your help. It truly means a lot. Please continue to share this information to get it out there to your friends so that way we can make this world a more beautiful place to live. Is that fair? I like that. I like how that sounds. Thank you. Truly, thank you. So this past week, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he and I were talking about what it was like when we were in grade school. And the thing that came up, we would talk about, oh, come on now, reminisce with me for a second. At my school, we had these things called Bosco sticks. I don't know if y'all know about those, but they like these cheesy breadsticks or they're like these breadsticks that have cheese on the inside of them. Oh my Lord, I remember those. We was reminiscing on those. We was reminiscing on the chocolate milk in those cartons. For some reason, to me, that's the best chocolate milk that's ever existed. We was reminiscing on those, man. We were reminiscing on the food trays that used to come out. We were reminiscing on a lot of different things. I mean, man, we could go on and on about all of that stuff, right? But for me, the Uncrustables. Come on now. Come on now. Don't act like you don't know about no Uncrustables. We remember those days, right? Oh, I don't know what y'all had at your school, but that was the kind of stuff that we was eating at my school, man. It was the bomb. But we were talking about recess as well and how much we miss that, because you don't get those kind of things when you're an adult, where you just get a bunch of kids, well, not kids, adults that just go out and say, we're about to go play kickball or basketball or whatever, right? You don't get that very often. And so we were reminiscing on what it was like just to be able to hang out with your friends, go outside, try to mac on the girls or whatever it was that we were doing, and just reminiscing on the good old days, how fun those moments were. And in the midst of that conversation, I was talking to him about, and maybe you'll remember this if you're old enough, but when I was in grade school, I remember the year that the teachers started to crack down in the schools when they were talking about the zero tolerance policy. Do you remember this? And I remember that it started with them saying that they were not allowed that you were not allowed to bring any guns or knives or any type of weapons into the school. And if you were caught with one, that they would suspend you or they would expel you. They said you couldn't bring those things in. They said you couldn't bring drugs in. And I don't know what your school was like, but in my school, they started opening up your lockers and doing locker searches. So you'd be sitting in class and they just go all through your stuff trying to make sure you ain't got nothing. Do you remember those days? Or did you have those days? I should ask. I remember the days, man, you couldn't bring a cell phone to school. You couldn't bring your beeper to school. Well, beeper was more likely because cell phones were super expensive when we were younger. But I'm like, you couldn't bring a beeper to school. Like, they shut down all of that stuff. Okay. I remember that teachers, when they were talking about no weapons, none of this stuff, they were like, yes, we're all for it. I remember these conversations. I remember that when they were like, kids don't need to be bringing weapons into the schools. Okay. I remember hearing parents talking about it, right? Parents were all for this rule. Okay. And as an adult now, I can see why somebody would say that. If we're going to make the rule, okay, kids don't need to be bringing weapons into school, that's probably fair. It's probably safe. But if we're going to make it the rule, then can we do everything that we can to make sure that it's actually the rule? Because what I don't understand is how we have these rules in place and yet students are still able to sneak them into the schools and cause havoc. That doesn't make any sense to me. That stuff pisses me off, if I'm being honest with you. Because if it's the rule, then let's make sure that it's the rule. Put up metal detectors, put officers in the schools at the front doors, do something to make sure that these people aren't going to be able to come in and act like a monster. Because it's not fair that we have students and teachers that are sitting in a building and they have no way to defend themselves when somebody gets a bee in their bonnet that they want to go shoot the place up. It doesn't make any sense to me that you do when you call the police when this stuff is going on, like we saw in Uvalde, where the video shows that this kid is in there being a monster and the police are standing at the end of the hall and they're not doing anything. These things don't make sense to me. So if this is the rule, can we put things in place that make sure that this rule is followed? That's my only gripe with it. If this is going to be the rule, let's make it the rule, right? Again, this is the discussion for a later day. I get all of that, but I remember this zero tolerance policy. I remember it very well. And the reason I was bringing up the zero tolerance policy to my friend and now to all of you is because I remember at my school when the zero tolerance talk started happening, they started saying that it's not just going to be the weapons and the drugs and any of that kind of, paraphernalia. It wasn't going to just be those types of things. I remember that they said there would be a zero tolerance policy on bullying. A zero tolerance policy on bullying. And I remember that schools were like all in on this idea that bullying in any way, shape, or form was not going to be tolerated. That if you got caught bullying someone, that you were going to be suspended or you were going to be expelled. I remember this. And now I need you to understand something about me. I absolutely positively hate bullies. And I mean, I hate them with a passion. I think it's safe to say this because he and I have had these conversations, but when I was growing up, my dad was a bully. He was a bully. Now, he's progressively gotten better. He and I have a great relationship to this day. We talk all the time. We have a wonderful relationship. He'll be on here at some point, I'm sure, and we'll be talking about the news and just kicking the breeze and all of that kind of stuff. But when I was younger, I couldn't stand the man because he was a bully. And so I lived my younger life with this mentality of I have to take it from him. But when I'm out of this house, when I'm walking the halls at school, when I'm at the playground, when I'm in the neighborhood, when I'm doing anything other than being at home, I don't have to take this from anybody else. So for me, I remember I chose the fight in the fight or flight mentality. That was me. And I understand not everybody has that mentality. I understand not everybody's built that way, but that was the way that I was built, that I am built. But I honed that mentality. I didn't use it to become a bully. I used it to become a defender. That was what I was. I remember we had this kid in my school. His name was Robert. And I don't know, if he was autistic or what. He was just different, right? And I remember that I used to have his back because students would try and pick on him. And the thing that really used to tick me off is that they would go up to Robert and they would take his lunch money from him. I remember they'd be like, "Hey, Big Rob, let me get some money. Let me get that $1 off you, bro, so I can get me something to eat. I'll pay you back." And they never pay him back. And I remember when I heard about this that I would tell people, like, listen, this stops now. This is not happening anymore. This stops today. I was just built that way. I'm just like that. I'm like that even now. I was cool with the unpopular students. I was cool with the popular students. I still talk to some people from high school. I still talk to some of the unpopular ones, and I talk to some of the ones that you would consider popular. I just did my thing, man. I didn't like drama. I didn't like problems. I didn't like any of those things. I just did my thing. But the one thing that I can say about myself when I was a kid for sure is that I hated bullies. I hated them. But I remember asking the question when I would hear teachers thinking about or talking about getting rid of the bullying, because I analyze everything. I overanalyze, people will tell you. And I remember thinking, even as a kid, how can you even address this? Because I never understood it. I always thought that this is just a part of life and you either stand up to it or you get abused by it. That was the mentality that I thought. Again, hating bullies, I hate them with a passion. But the thing that bullies did for me is that they made you tough. And again, I'm looking at this through my lens only, but my mentality was, listen, you may beat me. And I've been beaten up before. I'll never forget one time, man, my little brother, oh my Lord. So he would have been in kindergarten, so I would have been in second grade. And he was running his mouth to these fifth graders. And I walked up and I'm like, listen, man, y'all back up off my brother, man. Ain't nobody got time for this. And that fool runs. He runs away from me. And now I'm like, okay, here I am, second grade, got these two fifth graders I got to deal with. So now I start to run. I drop my book bag and everything, and I dip trying to get away from them, and they caught me and they beat me up. They beat me up for my little brother, right? That was just my mentality, though. My mentality was you will think twice before you try it. You'll think twice, and even if you do beat me, you will remember that you were in a fight, and you won't try to fight with me again, because if you do try to fight with me again, I'll fight you again. That's just the way that I was. It made me say, I am not going to be a victim. I'm not going to be a victim, because of the thing that I saw in our neighborhood, again, on the bus, in the school, at the parks, wherever we were. We used to have a playground where I grew up at, and it was called Gustafson Park, and we would go to the pool. If you would do this crap in the pool, if you let them do it once, they will never, ever stop. Anytime you walked into the pool, if you let them dunk you, splash you, steal your money, and go to the concessions, anything, then anytime they saw you, you were the mark. And they'd be like, oh, I'm going to do that again. You had to nip it in the bud. You had to. Right there from Jump Street. Because if you didn't, they would pull that crap all the time. I'll never forget, I was in 4th or 5th grade. I got into my first fight. Not the one with my brother, because I didn't fight back, because there was nothing I could do. They were stronger than me. There was nothing I could do. But I remember I got into my first fight where I actually fought back. There was this kid, he lived at the corner in a blue house. I'm picturing it right now. We lived like in the middle of the street. He lived in this corner in a blue house. And he was the neighborhood bully. I guess I shouldn't say the neighborhood bully. He was the bully on our street. Because there were some other bullies that he didn't mess with, right? Only the people that he knew. And I remember one day I was getting off the bus, and he was out there and he was waiting on his sisters. And me and his sister had been running our mouths back and forth to one another on the bus. She was talking crazy to me. I was talking crazy to her. You remember those Tamagotchi little computer babies that you had? That's what we were fighting over, because she had a Tamagotchi that was mine, and she was trying to act like she wasn't going to give it back, right? So anyway, we were going and running our mouths back and forth to one another. All of it turned out to be that we had a crush on one another. And you know, when you're a little kid, you don't know how to articulate that to somebody. So you pull her hair, she calls you a name. You know how it is. That's what we were doing to one another. We had a crush on one another. Neither one of us knew it. We was doing that little stupid childish stuff back and forth. You pick on me, I'm going to pick on you. That's what we did, because we thought each other were cute, right? So at this time, I wasn't aware of that's how she felt. She wasn't aware of that's how I felt, like I said. So she gets off the bus and she tells her brother. Man, I walked off that bus. That fool grabbed me in a headlock and squeezed me. I thought I was going to pass out. I didn't know what to do, because I was under the impression, man, if they call my parents, I'm going to get in trouble. You know how that was my mentality, back when we actually respected our parents. And so that happened in front of everybody. And I remember I walked into the house. My head's down. I'm like embarrassed, all of this stuff. And I went into the house defeated, and my dad was there. And to this day, this is still one of the best things that he ever taught me. He said to me, you get out there and you stand up to him, or you're going to have to deal with me. You get out there and you deal with him, or you're going to have to deal with me. And I remember thinking when I heard that, I'm going to go take my chances with the dude in the neighborhood, because I don't want my dad on my back. That was what I was thinking, right? So I went out. I knocked on his door. He came out. I didn't ask any questions. I just decked that fool right in the mouth, right? And I took on the bully. And I remember when we were done, I won that fight. And I remember when we were done that it stopped right there. I never had an issue with him ever again. I never had an issue after that at all with being bullied, actually. And you got to think about this. When I was young, man, I was a little skinny kid. And the people would pick on me because I didn't like fighting. I was quiet. I was shy. And so people would call me like, bird chest, big head, look at them legs, I just remember all of this stuff, right? And they would do it all the time. And I just didn't like drama. So it would bother me, obviously, but that's just what it was. People would pick on me all the time. Once I got done with Ronnie, I never had those issues again. I never had any of those issues. And now listen, I'm not trying to paint myself like I'm the baddest person in the world because I know that I'm not. There's always someone better, always somebody bigger, stronger, faster, whatever. I get all of those things. But the point is this, is that if you let them do it, then they will always do it. So for me, bullying taught me that this is how you defend yourself. This is how you take care of yourself. And so in my mind, I was like, this is a crucial part of growth because bullies are everywhere, right? They're everywhere. They're in your schools, they're at the playground, they're at the swimming pool, all of these places, right? But they even there when you're an adult. Bullies are even there as an adult because we've all worked in a place where there's that a-hole that you have to deal with. And as soon as I said that, I know you were thinking of someone because the head started flowing through my mind. We've all had to deal with an a-hole. You can picture their face right now. It's just a part of life, isn't it? They're everywhere. And again, it's a sucky part of life, but it's a part of life. Or so we thought. One day, this rule comes to the schools. 0 tolerance for bullying. 0 tolerance for the bullies. And what it did is that it gave the person that had the flight mentality, the person that didn't want to be picked on, it gave them the ability to go and tattle, and then a teacher or principal or whomever would step in and say, you know what, that's not allowed, and they would again suspend you, expel you, whatever the thing needed to be. Okay, no harm, no foul, right? I understand it. I really do. You don't go to school to get picked on. You don't go to school to get beat up. You go to school to learn. And back in our day, our teachers actually taught us stuff, right? They actually taught us things like math, and they didn't say that it was racist. You know, they actually taught you stuff. It's interesting how that works, but again, that's neither here nor there because we're gonna focus on these new age teachers here in a second. But I remember that we would go to school and we would go to school to learn. You don't go to school to get beat up. So you should feel safe when you're sitting in the classroom, right? You should feel safe when you're walking through the hallways. Again, the stupid stuff that people used to do, man. You'd be walking, you have your books in your hand, and them idiots would come up and knock them out. You remember those things in front of everybody, and all of the people would laugh. Ah, ha, ha. So stupid. So stupid, man. And so this seemed like, okay, this is a win. This is going to be a win for people, I guess. It's a way for people to not have to look over their shoulders as they walk through the school. It's a way for people not to have to look over their shoulders as they're getting off the bus. Okay, great. I get all of those things. But was it really great? Did it really work? If you haven't already, I suggest you go and check out Chris Rock has a great bit on the concept of bullies in school. And he uses it to talk about, it really is funny. But he uses it to talk about Donald Trump and how Donald Trump got in office and how Donald Trump was a bully. And because everybody is all against bullying, that they didn't know how to deal with a bully. So when a real bully showed up, nobody was prepared for it. It really is funny. So I would suggest you go check out Chris Rock's bit. It's on his on one of his stand-up specials on Netflix if you still have Netflix. And it truly is funny. In my opinion, it's funny. Whether you think Trump is a bully or not, whatever your thoughts are on Trump, the bit is funny. But the point he was making is that bullies do most of the work in the schools. They teach you things that the teachers and the books can't teach you. And I truly have to ask myself the question, did the 0 tolerance policy really make things better? And I want you to really think about that. Did it really make things better? Because again, it seems fantastic on paper. Seems like this is a great thing on paper. Kids don't have to worry about getting pushed down the stairs. Okay, that's a great thing. Kids don't have to worry about getting beat up in the lunchroom for no reason. That is a good thing. But did it really make things better? Because fast forward with me. Those same students that got to go tattle when someone was picking on them, those people are now grown-ups. Those people are now adults. And what have those grown-ups turned into? You think we live in a better world now? You think we live in a better world now that those people are making decisions about our society? I want to show you something, and then I want to talk about it. I want to show you this article. This article talks about 20 words that you're saying that you didn't know were offensive. Look at this with me. 20 things you're saying that you didn't know were offensive. This is absolutely ridiculous. And here's my favorite word out of all of it, because there's a bunch of them on here: cannibal, bumbo jumbo, fuzzy wuzzy, no can do. You got all of these different things right here, right? It's ridiculous. But here's one that I really love. It's number 10. It's called the rule of thumb. And this is what the article says. It says, no one knows for sure where this phrase comes from, but experts believe it has something to do with an English law from the 1600s that allowed men to assault their wives with a stick just as long as it was no wider than his thumb in thickness. Again, yikes. That's what this thing says. 20 words you should stop saying because they are offensive. Now, I particularly love this one because it says, no one knows for sure where this phrase comes from. So I love this one because they said, we can't tell you the origins of it. We can't tell you what it means. We've just chosen to be offended. We have chosen to be offended. Isn't that crazy how that works? We can't tell you where it comes from. We've just chosen to be offended. Here are 20 words that you need to stop saying because they're offensive. Man, I miss the days when you could go on the internet or you could hear some news or you could hear some piece of information and then you could determine for yourself, I like that, I want to hear more of it, or I don't like that, I don't want to hear any more of it, and you just don't watch it again or you don't listen to it again. You just push past it. You remember those days? See, that was the world that I grew up in, where you could use your freedom to make a choice of what you wanted to hear or what you didn't want to hear. But then these people grew up. Like I said, these same people, they grew up and they said, you can't say these words anymore because these words hurt. Again, we don't have to know where the word comes from. We don't have to know what the word means. We just know that we don't like the way that it sounds. So you can't say it anymore because these words hurt. See, the thing about this that drives me crazy is that they always want to force their ideas onto you. They always want to force their ideas onto us. It's never just we are going to not say these words. We're going to hang around people that don't say these words. They say, you can't say these words. One of the words on this list is the word spaz. Let me take you back here. One of the words on this list is spaz. I think it's number 3, right? Nope, number 2. So here's the word spaz. It says, to many people, okay, not all people, but to many people, calling someone spastic is just as offensive as calling someone the R word. R word is retarded, in case you couldn't think of that. The stigma stems from the word's association with cerebral palsy, a disease that was once referred to as a spastic paralysis. And for more words you haven't heard in a while, check out the 100 slang terms from the 20th century no one uses anymore. I haven't even looked at this list. This might be something, 100 words that you can't say because they're offensive. Who knows? But this is spaz, right? It says, to many people, calling someone spastic is just as offensive as the R word. To many people. Now, look at that word spaz. This is a word that they claim is talking about cerebral palsy. But what they don't take into consideration is that that's not what that word means all the time. There's nuance and context that goes into our language. And these people grew up and they said, I don't care about your rules for language. I don't want to hear it anymore. And therefore, you don't get to say it. I don't care about how it makes you feel. I don't care about how you used it, what your intent was behind it. I don't care about any of those things. It hurts me, and therefore, you don't get to say it. Now, I want to give you a real world example because I'm sure you're thinking, why are you getting stuck on the word spaz? Do you know the artist Lizzo? Do you know who Lizzo is? I'm sure you've heard the name. She's super famous. But for those of you that don't know who she is, she's this fat black singer that is all about, showing off her fat and promoting body positivity and all of this stuff, right? That's what she's about. Big girls, promotes big girls, okay? And that's the thing I love about this country. I really do. Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation, he has an awesome quote talking about this. Every time I think about it, it makes me laugh because Ron says, The whole point of this country is if you want to eat garbage, balloon up to 600 pounds, and die of a heart attack at age 43, you can do that. You are free to do so. To me, that's beautiful. That's what Ron Swanson says. If you want to blow up to 600 pounds and die of a heart attack at 43, you can do that, and it's beautiful. That's Ron Swanson for you. Shout out to Ron Swanson. He's from Indiana. I know he's a fake character, but okay, I'm from Indiana, so I love it. And so here's Lizzo, and she is all about that life, man. She's all about that and promoting that for other big women all around the world. That's her thing, right? That's like her shtick. And man, there is this movement that is behind it. I see videos all the time of big girls, and they're mocking skinny people, and there's a whole movement of if you want to get in shape just because you want to look good and you're fat phobia. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. Again, it's just getting ridiculous. I remember when Adele lost weight. You remember that? People went online to hate on her for losing weight. They were mad at her for losing weight. Man, this is a crazy world that we live in, isn't it? That stuff was crazy, but they don't do that to Lizzo because Lizzo was all about it. She's all about it. And this movement is happening, man. They got fat girls on Peloton instructors. They put them on Nike ads and Sports Illustrated. The list goes on and on and on, right? Okay, if you want to be fat, go on ahead and do your thing. I'm not tripping off of that, right? Lizzo, she's all about it. And she's all about the ideas of the left. Okay, so Michael, what does this have to do with the word spaz? Let me get back to that. Lizzo wrote this song called Girls. I've never heard it. I'm not a Lizzo fan. That's just not my thing. But in this song, she used the word spaz. And here's what I can find that sparked an outrage to her using this word. There's a tweet by this woman named Hannah Divini or Divini. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, but this woman who's some sort of disability advocate, and I believe she has a disability, but she puts this tweet out. Actually, I know she has a disability because it started the tweet. And this is what she says. She says, "Hey, Lizzo, my disability," she says, "Hey, Lizzo, my disability, cerebral palsy, is literally classified as spastic dysplasia, where spasticity refers to unending painful tightness in my legs. And your new song makes me pretty angry and sad. Spaz doesn't mean freaked out or crazy. It's an ableist slur. It's 2022. Do better." Now, this is what she writes. This is what she writes. She says, "Listen, this makes me feel angry and it makes me sad." Listen to the words. She says, "Your new song makes me feel pretty angry and sad." Okay. Hannah, you're entitled to feel how you feel. However you want to feel, you're entitled to that. But here's my question. What happened to context? What happened to context? Now, again, I'm not a Lizzo fan, okay? I'm not. I don't like her style. I'm not into it, okay? No diss on her. She has a lot of followers. Hey, go do your thing, girl. Go on ahead and do that. But I'm not a supporter of the music. I'm not into it. But I am a supporter of context. If you talk to people that know me, they will tell you that I always ask the question of, how are you defining what you're saying? Because I've learned that a lot of conflict happens because we're both saying a word, we think we're using it the same way, and then we're really not, right? So what do you mean when you say that? And I ask these things all the time because I want to make sure that I'm able to feel appropriately. So the question that I'm asking is, did Lizzo mean the word as a dig to people with cerebral palsy? Is that what she meant? Come on now. You really think that's what it was? What's the context that she's using it? So you have to understand something about our community. In the Black community, okay, we use the word to mean we are going to get wild, okay? We're going to go party. We're going to go have fun. It has nothing to do with ableist ideas. But nope. Hannah said, "I'm offended. I'm offended by it, and therefore it is wrong, and I'm not listening to your context. I'm not listening to the nuances of the song. I'm about to go tattle to the world. That's what I'm going to do." So apparently this gets back to Lizzo. She apologizes for using the word and she changes it. Now, the thing that was interesting to me is that this word, how they're using it for this ableist thing, is off in another country. This is not the way that it was used in America. So this girl is basing it off of another country's way of using the word, and Lizzo still apologizes for it. And it's that type of power that we have created with this new generation. See, if I was Lizzo, I would have never apologized for using the word, because you cared nothing about the context. You cared nothing about the culture. It was only what you wanted. It was only about how you felt. And how can you operate as a society when we allow these people to be the decision makers in our world? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And I was having this argument with someone, and they were saying to me, Michael, isn't that like saying, why can't another person use the N-word? Listen, I'm not an idiot. I know white people say the N-word all the time. Just don't say the N-word around black people, because there's no context other than what the word was intended to be, right? Does that make sense? Or I know that there are white people that black folks have given them a pass and said, okay. I know that people say it. I'm not going to change my life. Again, okay, so talking about jokes, Dave Chappelle has a joke about that. He's like, in this society that we live in now, I'm not going to run away. He said he would walk into a KFC if it was a Ku Klux Klan member in there and they called him the N-word. He said, I'm still going to eat my chicken, right? That's just the truth. But the context of the words matter. And in this one, the context she was using it is not about cerebral palsy. It's not based off of how it's used in another country. She was basing it off how it was used in the community. How can we operate as a society when we give these people that type of power? Apparently, you can function pretty well when you're on the side of cancel culture, right? Now, again, when we were in school, it was getting to a place where everyone was supposed to be included. You remember those days? So you could be playing kickball with some friends, and if another person that wasn't your friend wanted to come play kickball, you had to let them play kickball with you, or you would get kicked off the kickball court and that kid would have the kickball. Did that ever happen at your school? Because that was the stuff that they were doing at our school. I remember playing Power Rangers, right? I remember one time one of my friends was having a birthday party, and it was a Power Rangers themed birthday party. And it was, if you were into Power Rangers like me, this is a big deal, right? They had the White Ranger. Do you remember that? And the White Ranger came out. He was super powerful. He had all the cool moves, all of this stuff, right? And I remember at this kid's party, we had those little masks that had like a string on the back that you put on. And in this party, all of the kids wanted to be the White Ranger. I didn't want to be the White Ranger. I wanted to be the Black Ranger because I thought he was cool. I thought he was the coolest one. I loved how he would dance and do all of those things, right? But I remember this moment happening, and there were kids that were crying because they could not be the White Ranger. And so the mom said to the birthday boy, she said, it's okay, honey. I can't remember his name, but she said, it's okay. It's okay. Everyone can be the White Ranger. And so she gave them crayons, and they all got to be the White Ranger. What? I remember thinking that this is his birthday party. If he wants to be the White Ranger, how does he not get to be the White Ranger? That's not how this works, lady. There's only one White Ranger. You have literally just ruined the whole dynamic of the team. We can't all be the White Ranger. There was the White Ranger, the Green Ranger, the Red Ranger, Yellow Ranger, Black Ranger, Pink Ranger, Blue Ranger. I think I said all of them. But like, there was a dynamic to this team, right? And you just messed up the whole dynamic. But it's okay, because nobody's feelings got hurt. Nobody's feelings got hurt. Same thing started happening with sports, right? Same thing started happening with sports. I remember I was playing in a rec league, and I remember I got a plaque from a team, and it was the exact same plaque that some others were getting. And I was like, wait a minute. This dude didn't even play. He didn't even get off the bench. And you're going to give him the same plaque as me? Now, listen, don't get me wrong. He was a cool kid. He and I hung out all the time. That was my boy. That was my buddy. But he didn't even play. Tell me how that works. Well, everyone gets a trophy so that nobody's feelings are hurt. Everybody's special. Everybody's unique. And again, these people eventually grew up into adults that are functioning in our world. And I should have said they're functioning in our world, right? Because there's no longer any merit. There's no longer a basis on this person that works the hardest so they will be rewarded for their efforts. That's not how it works anymore. Instead, they say everyone should get the same thing. It's all about equity. So somebody that's not as gifted as you, they deserve to feel the same way that you feel, even though they're not as gifted. They haven't put in the same amount of work. They don't put in the same amount of effort and time, but they deserve to feel how you feel. I don't want somebody that just got a participation award to get the same benefits as me. That's not what I want. I don't want to be giving something over someone if I don't deserve it. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, how does the person with the higher grade on the exam get demoted because I couldn't compete with them? See, there needs to be some type of standard, doesn't there? You can't be included in everything all the time. You can't be a winner all the time. At least that's how things used to be. But we don't live in that world anymore, do we? We don't live in the world anymore where things are just. I want the thing that you have, and I am not going to be happy until I get it. Just go get it from somewhere else. Nope. I want it from here. Michael, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Do you know the story of Jack Phillips? Jack Phillips, he's a baker. And in 2018, Jack Phillips, he was in the middle of a lawsuit because he didn't want to bake a cake for a gay couple back in 2018. And so this gay couple tried to sue him. And this went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and he eventually won a partial ruling over it. But like, this gay couple was all about it. So he won this partial ruling from the Supreme Court. And now here we are in 2023. He's in the news again because a trans person wanted a cake baked and he refused to do it. Now, he's not singling this person out. He's doing it because these are his Christian beliefs. But I want to show you this article that talks about this because this is what's going on in our world right now. Okay? So here we are. Colorado baker loses appeal over transgender birthday cake. The Colorado baker, who won a partial U.S. Supreme Court victory after refusing to make a gay couple's wedding cake, went too far, because of his Christian faith, lost an appeal Thursday in his latest legal fight involving his rejection of a request for a birthday cake celebrating a gender transition. And this goes on to talk about all of this different stuff. It's in Colorado, so I know you're not shocked. Colorado's super woke, right? But this is what's going on right now with Jack Phillips. He's back in court because his religious belief says, I don't support that. I don't support the transgender movement. I didn't support the gay cause or the gay marriage. He's refusing these things because of his Christian beliefs. But the person buying the cake said, I don't want to hear it. I don't care if that's what your belief is. I don't care how you feel. I want you to bake me a freaking cake. And yes, I understand there are bakeries everywhere in this country and that they would gladly bake me a cake for this cause. But I want you to bake me a cake. I want you to cave to my will. Now, here he is again. He lost an appeal in Colorado again. I know you're not shocked. Colorado's super woke. But isn't it just sad that we've come to this place? Isn't that sad? You could just simply take your business elsewhere. Why does it have to be like this? Because they said so. That's the way that these people are. They said so, and they have never, ever had to feel pain. They've not had adversity. They've not had anybody tell them no. They've not ever not been able to participate. They've been given everything that they can. They've been protected from all of those types of feelings. So why should it start now? And I know people will say, Michael, you sound insensitive. But Michael, you've never been a trans person before. You don't know what it's like. Okay, I don't know what it's like to be a trans person. That's true. But if it was a Muslim person or another religion that was saying, because of my religion, I'm not going to do this, would there be this spectacle? And I'm seriously asking the question. Would they be making a spectacle? If it was any other religion other than Christian, would they be making this spectacle? Because again, I am a pastor. I'm a pastor. And I remember when the gay marriage thing became legal, and I remember hearing the stories from my friends in ministry where gay couples were asking them to marry them. And it's like This is literally our belief. Like, this is literally a thing that we don't believe that this will be a union that is seen by God. I'm not making this stuff up on the spot. I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm not trying to single you out. This is literally what we believe. It is in the bylaws of our church. It's in the bylaws of our denomination, whatever, right? We believe something different. They didn't care about those things, right? To them, you're the one that's wrong. Your ways are the outdated ways, and we don't respect you or your God. And we're seeing that happening right now with Jack as he's back in the news over his beliefs. And we could go on and on about these things. We could continue to pull up these examples. But the thing I want us to land on is this, is that people claim to be on the side of tolerance. This person that has taken Jack to court, those are the people that claim to be on the side of tolerance. Now, I'm not trying to label all gay people. I'm not even trying to label all trans people because I don't know all of them. I don't believe it's true that they're all like that, right? I have some gay people that have been in my congregation. I have gay people that are in my life that are my friends. But I've had gay people in my congregation, and I've never had any issues with them. I remember I had a gay couple in 2021 that asked me to marry them. These two women that were in my church, they were coming to the church, and they were awesome. And I told them that I couldn't because the belief, the denomination, the stance in the Bible, like all of these different things, I said we can't. And these women were great about it. They said, okay, we understand. We like you. We consider this to be our church, but we understand. And it was all good. But there are some that are like this person that's taking Jack to court. And it's on all sides, right? It's all races. It's all backgrounds. We see this happening all the time, right? People don't like the service that they get. Turns into drama. How many times have you seen those clips of people that are in the grocery store and they're destroying stuff just because they're upset? I want to show you a clip of this stuff taking place.
Boy, man.
What they're doing, man.
Hey, let me got a much we come on. Why you kept acting as that? Why you kept acting as that? Why you kept acting as that?
This is how they act. And I already know there's going to be some people that say, yeah, they use it when they see these clips to say, yeah, black people, they're monsters, they're animals, they're this. Just to continue the race baiting and the trolling and all of that stupid crap that they do. So I want to show you another clip just to make sure that we see that it's on all sides.
He just came from the jail. Oh God, she's not right.
I'm showing you that because it's not about race. This is not about race. It's about entitlement. We don't like something. I don't like the way you treated me, so let me destroy the store. I'm going to knock these things off the shelf. I'm going to make a whole spectacle. I'm going to scream. I'm going to shout. I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do. We see this all the time. People sitting in front of the cars on the interstate, coming into restaurants. You remember when COVID lockdowns were happening? It was right after George Floyd. They just started opening up restaurants, and you would see these people walking down the street, and they would come to people that were eating in a restaurant, and they would say his name or we won't leave you alone. And they would sit there and berate you while you're trying to eat until you said George Floyd, right? Like he's some sort of hero. This is the way that these people act. They're entitled. And it doesn't just happen with common folks. Again, it's not a race thing. It's not a gender thing. It doesn't just happen with the common folk. We even see this stuff taking place with the rich and the famous. Here is Sha'Carri Richardson. She's a black female track runner for all of you that don't know. She's the one that was trying to run in the Olympics, and they said that she couldn't run because they tested weed in her system. I want you to look at this clip, see how she acts. This is a rich, entitled person. Check it out.
Place it all the way under the seat in front of you.
Lying.
Larger carry-on luggage goes in over.
Lying, not working today.
If you have small
Vacation
handheld
time.
devices, such as cell phones, tablets, and smartwatches, please switch them.
I'm recording me, but you jumped in my video, so I caught
If
you
your
because you jumped in my
electronic device falls
video.
into your seat,
You're harassing me
do
at
not
this point,
adjust
so I
your
think you
seat
should
and
stop.
contact a
I think you should
cleaner
stop.
or assistant.
I think you should stop. You see him, right? Y'all see him, right? Y'all see him, right? Okay. Okay, but I'm sorry. It's not me. Okay, talk to him. No, ma'am. Don't talk to me like that. I'm an adult. Do not talk to me like that. Do not talk to me like that. Tell him to stop. If you do not know what's going on, do not yell at me.
You can stop recording.
No, I'm not going to start recording because I was making a video to myself.
Stop recording.
I'm going to not start recording. And this video will show what you're doing. So I... Who the are you talking
We
to,
don't need other
ma'am?
people.
And it goes on and on like that. Well, my favorite part is she says, I am an adult. You don't get to talk to me like that. Really, Sha'Carri? Candace Owens does a brilliant piece on this. I'm not even gonna attempt to try to outstage her because Candace Owens is amazing. So go and check out Candace Owens' review of this video and how she breaks it down because she does a wonderful job. But here's my thing on this one with Sha'Carri. She was on a plane. This is not just about you in that moment. We're all trying to take off. We're all trying to get home or to our vacations or wherever people are trying to go. And they asked her to turn her phone off because the plane was about to take off and she turned it into a spectacle. Sha'Carri, you got to be better than that. This is not something that they're doing just to pick on you. This is the rule for everyone. But I don't like it. And so I'm gonna react in this negative way and make it like I'm the victim. Did you hear her? She was talking, you're harassing me. Really? Eventually, it got so bad they had to remove her from the flight. All of that could have been avoided, but that's what happens when you're entitled. Again, we could continue with these things, but the point I want to make is this. These people are not stable. These people claim to be tolerant. These people claim to be on the side of good, and in their world, they are trying to be defenders of everyone. But while they're doing that, they're actually defending no one. Does that make sense? Because everything is offensive, yet they claim to be tolerant. Everything is offensive, but they claim to be tolerant. But they're only tolerant of the things that they agree with. Elon Musk put out a brilliant tweet. I couldn't find it. I tried to find it. But he said one time, be yourself. And then he followed it up with, no, not like that. Because that's how these people are. That's how they treat you. The left have brainwashed the culture all around the world to believing that we are the only ones for you. We are on your side, that we are the only ones that love you. But eventually they always come after their own. Again, like they did with Lizzo. Lizzo, we don't like the word that you use, so you have to apologize. Lizzo is as liberal as they come. She is on their side. Nope, you were wrong. And even after she apologized, even after she caved and changed her song, they still said that that wasn't good enough. They tried to cancel her at one point. They went after Kevin Hart the same way. You remember Kevin Hart was supposed to host the Golden Globes? Or I think that's what it was. The Oscar something. I don't remember. He was supposed to host something. The man does everything. So I don't remember which one it was. But he had these jokes from like 10 years before this time was supposed to happen about his son being gay. And it was just a joke. People were so ticked off they went and found those things and they tried to cancel him. Right? Again, not taking into consideration context and nuance. That's where the world was at that time. That's how people used to talk. Everything was gay, right? I remember when I was a kid, we used to play a game called Smear the Queer. Nobody meant any harm by that. I didn't know what a queer was. We didn't know what it was. Just the culture. That's just what the culture was. And the thing that was sad is that Kevin had apologized and he had moved on, and they came back to him and said, you have to keep apologizing. You have to grovel for these positions. And this list goes on and on and on. We live in a culture that is tolerant of nothing. You eat meat, you're a bad person. That's what people say. If you eat meat, you're the one that's wrong. You should be eating bugs. You should be eating more plants. You should be doing this, right? It's always something. You can't eat meat. You can't say these words. You can't be this race. They come after white people all the time. They say that black people are harassing Asians, right? It's always something. You're the wrong race. You can't be one gender because gender doesn't exist. If you think it does, you're the one that's wrong. And the list goes on and on. Folks, we truly do live in a zero tolerance type of world. We live in a zero tolerance type of world, and we see this all the time. I want to bring up to you the question again, like I did last episode. Will it white supremacy? Here we have AOC. She's being AOC, man. That is my girl. That is my girl. And in this clip, we see that so Republicans had removed some Democrats for positions on these committees. And they removed who? Eric Swalwell, and one of them was Elon Omar. And of course, the Democrats, they go on the attack. And AOC, one of the squad members of Omar, she comes out and she says something about it. And it leads me to the question, will it white supremacy? Let's take a look at AOC.
As a fellow New Yorker, I think one of the things that we should talk about here is also one of the disgusting legacies after 9/11 has been the targeting and racism against Muslim Americans throughout the United States of America. And this is an extension of that legacy. Consistency, there is nothing consistent with the Republican Party's continued attack except for the racism and incitement of violence against women of color in this body. I had a member of the Republican caucus threaten my life, and you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
There's AOC, folks. Now, you knew the answer for sure. As soon as I said it was AOC, you knew what that answer was going to be. Now, here's what I want to know. Okay, it was a white supremacy thing there, right? It's about attacking women of color. Okay, where was the outrage when the Democrats were removing people? Where was the outrage when the Democrats were removing Marjorie Taylor Greene from her positions? Where was the outrage? Oh, she's not a woman of color, so that doesn't count, right? She doesn't toe the company line, so you're not going to come to her defense. And listen, there's no sadness on my part for that. There's no room for any of this bull crap that they're talking, because it wasn't about women of color. That's not what it was about. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene right now. Okay, I'm watching her from a distance because I was a super fan of hers, but I don't know how to feel about her hugging up with all this Speaker McCarthy and all of this crazy stuff again. That's another topic for another day, but I believe he is a snake of the highest order. Okay? I'm not a fan of McCarthy. So I don't understand why she's all hugged up on him, but the point still remains the same. When the Dems were removing her, another woman from the committee, where was the outrage? It's only reserved for women of color, Michael. You knew that. You knew that. What about when the Democrats were preventing people from getting onto the January 6th committee? Remember when Nancy Pelosi, she wouldn't let certain Republicans get on there. See, they don't care about that. It's only when they don't get their way. When they don't get their way, when they lose their power, when they can't appease their puppet masters, that's when they throw their temper tantrum. And I love Cori Bush in the background. Oh my gosh, you see her nodding along? She's an idiot, just like the rest of them. She's sitting up there, yes, girl, I love your temper tantrum. You keep it going. And then the dude in the background clapping like a seal. The support is so cute, right? It's so cute. Now, the thing that drives me crazy is that this is how these people behave. And I just have to ask the question, don't we have bigger things to worry about? Don't we have bigger things to worry about? We are potentially at war with Russia. We are potentially at war with China. We have inflation that's taking place. Trains that are falling off the tracks and poisoning waters, and fishes are dying. We have our food processing plants that are being destroyed left and right. We have balloons flying over our space. All of this stuff is going on, and nobody cares about that, because that's not what it's about. It's about race. It's about the squad member. It's about Elon Omar being attacked for being a woman of color. Not that she's incompetent. It's just that she's a woman of color. There's no regard for order. Rashida Tlaib does the same thing when she's up there speaking. She starts busting out in tears and they're trying to get order and she keeps talking. This is what they do. We see this all the time, folks. When they don't get their way, they throw a temper tantrum. Joe Biden doesn't like what you do. He'll send the FBI to come to your house, right? So what? You were peacefully protesting at an abortion clinic? Nope, there's no time for that. Temper tantrum. Can't have that, right? Justin Trudeau, he doesn't like what you're doing. What's he do? Shuts down your bank accounts. Temper tantrum, because there's no time for that. And then we got the idiots over at GoFundMe. Why is that still a platform? Why are people still giving to GoFundMe? Why are you still raising your money and your donations through that fund or that funding site? These people, you remember when they were raising money for the trucker convoy? They threatened to take your money and give it to things that they deemed acceptable. And we still have people that are doing their GoFundMe or their fundraising things through this site. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, it stopped because of the outrage of the people. People heard about this and they were like, oh, no. That's not what we meant by that. But why does this company still exist? Quit using them for the funding. They need to be canceled. Anyway, that's not the point right now. Because this list could go on and on and on of the temper tantrums that these people throw. But my question is, how does it get better? Does it always have to be like this? The answer to that is very simple. It does not have to be like this forever. You want to see your world be different? Stand up to the bullies, folks, because that's what they are. Those same people that didn't want to be bullied when they were in school have now grown up and they've gotten power. And now these people are the bullies. And we have to stand up against them. Lizzo, don't apologize for your thoughts when they get taken out of context. Now, if you're wrong, say that you're wrong. If people want to have the dialogue, but don't apologize just because these people start crying because they say that your words hurt them. Same thing with Kevin Hart. I'm glad he didn't apologize again, because if an apology doesn't mean anything, then what's the purpose of demanding one? He already apologized and they keep coming back to him saying, you got to apologize again. That doesn't make any sense to me. If someone is doing something that you can't agree with, can we not get back to a space where we say, I can just move on from it? You don't have to take those things. Don't try and force your will on other people, because that is not going to happen. We're not always going to see eye to eye. And that is not how the Lord works with us, right? He gave us free will and he desires greatly to be in relationship with us. God wants to know you. He wants you to know him. All of those things are true. But should you reject it, he doesn't bend you to his will. And the same should be true with us. We are not going to see eye to eye with everyone. To try and make them believe what we believe is ridiculous. That's not the way that the world works. And until we stand up against this junk, we will continue to have it forced upon us. Folks, the time is now. The time is now to stand up. We cannot sit on the sidelines and hope that they don't come for us or that they won't call us names. We have to rise against it right now, because they are coming for the next generation, folks. They're coming for your kids. Look at the crap that they're teaching them. The 1619 Project, they're teaching them to hate their country. They're teaching black kids that they're the victims. They're teaching white kids that they're the oppressors. They're teaching all of this crap because they want to destroy them. Folks, we have to protect them. We have to stand up. We have to put an end to all of this stuff. Get involved in your local politics. Get involved with your school boards. Get involved. You can't sit on the sideline anymore. It's too dangerous. The time is right now. With all of that being said, folks, it's time for me to wrap things up here on my end. I truly, truly, truly enjoy it every time I get a chance to do this with you, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Like we talked about it before, if you do approve of this content, if you do like this content, make sure that you like, subscribe, make sure that you share this with your friends. Let's grow this thing together so that we can continue to fight against the oppression and the stuff that's coming out to really to destroy our country and take away our freedoms. Let's fight this thing together, right? As always, my name is Michael Washington. I'm signing out from the 529 Initiative. Until next time, folks, stay vigilant out there. Peace.